Go ahead, Natalia.
How do you engage someone who's apathetic in a dialogue and participate in the first place?
I found that if you grab their collar as tight as you can and pull them toward your face, that sometimes gets their attention. You can't. You can't. That's not to say don't try, but I mean, there's no way to force that because that's antithetical to what you're actually trying to do, right? You can't beat someone into loving you, right? You can't force concern, but you can try. You can ask questions. You can probe. You can ask them, you know, tell me why you don't think this is important in your life. They'll say whatever. But I think everybody, we can go through this room, and everybody has had the experience where you were so frustrated, you just wanted to get somebody to open up, and they were saying whatever, right? Everybody's had that experience. No matter how apathetic you might be, you have somebody else. I mean, that's just sort of how it goes. Here's what I would suggest. I give very little advice, but here's what I would suggest in this. I'd suggest the horse whisperer approach, right? Make sure that the people always know that you're available for conversation, that you're willing to engage, even on the most sensitive of topics. When you love somebody, you let them know that you're there for them, and that you're open. And when people feel comfortable, when the timing is right, they may come. And if not, they don't. But there's no way to force that. But I do think that you can do everything you can to send a signal that you're very eager, in fact, to talk about this, and that you welcome that kind of interaction and conversation. It doesn't have to be about politics. Remember, apathy, I try to define it more broadly. It's hard for a political scientist. I always to go back to that, you know. But it doesn't have to be about politics. Sometimes your friends have personal issues that hurt, and they need somebody. And all you got to do is find ways to let them know that you'll be there if they ever needed you. It's important. That's how I know. Jen?
Based on the points you made in the lecture, what is your evaluation of the three presidential candidates?
Yeah.
Love and apathy.
It seems to me that all three candidates certainly are intellectuals or strive toward intellectualism. All three, the remaining candidates, are talking about McCain, Clinton, and Obama. It's interesting because I made that comment about don't confuse it with intelligence. I think George W. Bush is intelligent. I mean, I know some of you, you know, because he can't talk and all this stuff. Look, man, I don't talk so well either, I gotta be honest. I do think he's intelligent. I don't think he's the president of the United States without being intelligent. But he's not intellectual under any circumstances, and that's not a negative necessarily. This isn't a guy who is, you know, reading everything he gets his hands on to understand the world in more complex ways. That's not him. So any of those three folks would bring that. Now, whether or not they're interested in imposing, in whatever way they can, their ideas on the broader conversation, they shouldn't impose on other people. But when you're president of the United States, you have a responsibility to set the agenda for public discussion. And they can sort of impose a more sophisticated process for which we discuss public issues. And I don't know the extent to which, that's because it's a very difficult thing. Because you know what happens, you get called elitism. It's scary. It's scary. Because people who are intellectual aren't better than anybody else. There are people who made a conscious choice to try to understand the world in a more complex way. No. I think that's important. But if you don't, that doesn't mean you're wrong, right? Right? Wrong. You understand what I'm saying? So that makes it complicated. And this is why, you know, again, it falls in on itself sometimes. You can't force this sort of sophistication. And I know all the words that I'm using suggest sort of higher, but higher's not always better. Some of your smartest, I won't say professors because you're at North Central, we're all fantastic teachers here, but some of your smartest teachers are the crappiest, or some of your smartest teachers are the crappiest teachers, right? They really know the stuff, but they can't get it to you. I mean, that was really, my graduate school, I had a minor in quantitative analysis, and that was really the case with some of my stats professors. You know, the ones who struggled learning it were the best teachers because they knew what was hard. Those who always got it were always had this look on their face like, you know? That's how George Bush always looks, right? He's always doing this. Right? And that's important. And it's important that the small nonverbal, what he's saying with his body is, like, everybody knows this. Can we move on here? Terror. Sure. I mean, he's constantly with this mannerism, and that mannerism is suggestive of, if you're not getting this, there's something wrong with you. And when you're made to feel like that, you shut off. And that's why it's very difficult to sort of have some kind of engagement with somebody who has an attitude that they're always right. And certainly I think that we've come to see, not just George W. Bush, but the administration, if an administration could have a personality, it would be characterized that way for this one, that's for sure. For sure. And some of us look at that and say, that's good leadership, that's strength, they can't be wavering, they're not swaying with the polls, and with, I mean, that's strength, you know, stay the course. And so that's one perspective on it. Another perspective is it's not only non-intellectual, but it's actively anti-intellectual. That is putting down anybody that tries to make things more complicated. And I think that's troublesome. I find that to be troublesome. I thought there was a hand in the back here that I missed. Or maybe something. Oh, wait! Diana.
Hello.
Hi.
This is, I feel like we're like jumping
You
around.
look like Ava Perón.
What?
You look like Ava Perón. Don't cry for me.
I guess since we're kind of like jumping around and like discussing different topics, I just thought about when you gave this presentation, and then I thought about the connection between love and intellectualism, and I feel like all of us as students learning more makes us want to strive to be intellectuals as well. And I feel like for me, I don't consider myself intellectual, you know, yet, but I obviously want to be one day.
It's a praxis.
Yeah, of course, and I'm sure it's, you know, it's constantly a learning process as well. But I mean, I guess for me, wanting to strive to be an intellectual is my love for people, and like I have the particular interest of like human rights, you know, so I always want to learn more, become more, not just tolerant, but like, you know, love people for who they are. But like, I guess I run into so much pessimism about I can't even explain it. Like even when, for example, when you look at world issues, like everybody around me seems just so pessimistic about what can be done. And how do you deal with that? And I guess that's not like apathy, but it's similar in a way where
Yes.
it's like, you don't, how do you deal with
It's
that?
helplessness. Right?
Yeah, it's
Feeling
like helpless.
That's a wonderful question. I get that a lot. You know, some of my classes, maybe some of you have been in these classes, particularly my leadership seminar classes, where we struggle with very difficult issues for an entire 10 weeks. And at the end of that 10 weeks, I often have students, you know, come to my office either in tears or near tears, and just saying, Professor, what can I do? Okay, now I've learned how messed up this all is. What am I supposed to do? And you know what my answer is? Does anybody remember if I said this to any of you? I said, that's up to you. I'm staying here in the ivory tower, protected from all of that. And I feel like my job is to alert you to the complexities of things. And you have the talents, you're smarter than me, or have these kind of specific talents to go out there and do something about it. If I could have, I would, but I'm here. Right? I mean, what my hope is that of the people that I have an opportunity to touch in some way in the years that I'll be doing this, that those folks will be out there in the positions of power that I would never have access to, and be thoughtful about things in more complex ways to make the world a better place as they see it, not necessarily as I see it. Because again, that's my problem. I can't. But not so simplistic. But pessimism is different than apathy, there's no question. So that what comes back to that is I'm one person, right? There's only one person. And I don't help anything because I tell students in my one-on-one class, your vote's not going to matter much. Go vote for the U.S. Senate. You know, 14 million votes cast, I'm pretty sure it will come down to one vote. If you stay home, guess what? The result's going to be the same. I say that to people out there, partly, of course. But it was, you know, if everybody thinks like that, then democracy falls apart, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact of the matter is that there is some value to viewing oneself as a part of a greater whole. And so, I don't want to get too political sciencey on it, but the notion is that while individuals can be relatively powerless, and most of us are, we do have a very elite system. I mean, there's a group of people, you know, you don't have CEOs marrying, people that clean the buildings very often. People who are in power, you know, they meet each other, they reproduce with each other, they go to expensive schools, they stay in power, that happens. But the rest of us have all kinds of possibilities for power, but only together. Only together. You know, every once in a while, one person can make a difference. And so you'll see the person standing in front of the tanks at Tiananmen Square, for instance. in a particular individualistic demonstration of bravery. But for the most part, we ain't gonna be jumping in front of tanks. All right, first of all, I don't recommend it, or it'll be your last lecture.